Hi friends, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rainboots, and today we're making a no-sew standing posable Scarecrow Gnome. He has a ton of cool details, and as always, if you would like to make him, just boop, stick around. As always, please like this video so I know you're here crafting with me. Now this guy is not tiny. He's 16 inches tall, made with the Bubble Gnome and a free boot pattern. You can get both of those links down below. To get started, I'm going to be using basic gnome making supplies, craft paper, some jeanish material, cottons, felts, fur, and a little hay bale. So you can get those at the Dollar Tree too. All right, so this fur is gorgeous. We're also going to need some dowels for the legs. So using the Bubble Gnome pattern, this is the only change I'm making. So on the hat, we're going to cut off the hook, but keep everything else the same. And why we're going to do this is because it just looks more rough and rugged. Now when you're gluing this up, leave holes. And I know that sounds weird, but if you leave a couple of holes, it's going to be so cool. Just make sure they're not directly across from each other because we need to have a little bit of structure to keep this up. So I'm just going to make this per the pattern except for those holes, and on the body you're going to do the same exact thing that it calls out whether you're sewing or hot gluing. We're just going to attach it all right sides together and then flip everything out once the hot glue is dried. So I'm going to start with the hat, and you'll see here it's just going to come out really easily. Don't stick your finger through the holes. Alright, so I'm going to be adding a lot of details to that hat in just a second, but let's start with the body. So after I turn it right side out, I'm going to fill it with poly beads, mostly because I get them all over the place as well, mostly about halfway up, and then I'm going to finish stuffing that with poly fill. Now you can get this at any craft store or inside of any pillow. For the arms, I'm going to use a nice little cotton plaid here. I thought it was very farmy looking. I'm going to create two rectangles. The details are in the pattern, of course, but I'm not going to glue them all the way down. I'm going to leave about a half of an inch at the bottom so I can flip this up and create a nice even seam or hem. Now I know you could leave it, you know, all rough and tumbly, but I'm going to be using a little bit of straw in some places and I didn't want it to unfray. We're going to do that for the second arm as well. Let them dry and then turn them right sides out. So I'm just going to start with one end and then use my dowel or a pencil to help me push out the entire thing all the way through. If you're using the Dollar Tree foam rollers, you can just wrap the fabric around the roller. So I'm using the free winter booties pattern. That link will be down below, but I'm going to be using it a little differently. This has always been a load-bearing or a standing gnome bootie. However, now we're going to use hot glue. I do recommend you getting foam core and cutting them exactly this way. So you're going to use the bottom part of the booty to trace the ovals, but you're actually going to be cutting it inside of that booty. So we're going to build this a little odd, but we need it to be just inside that bottom part. All right, so I'm just going to be using this and just cut it exactly inside. I'm going to shave off just a little bit more there. And then you can see it fits inside, so we can move on to the second one before we start assembling these. To assemble, we're going to put right sides together. I know it's hard to tell with felt, but we're going to put them right sides together and just do the front. So all the way up the ankle and all the way down the front. Now that has to dry. Let it dry completely before you turn it in, or before you mess with it. So before you turn it inside out, we're going to attach half of the base piece, and we're just going to start at one end. I recommend the front, and then you're going to go all along the outside here of the booty. So you're just going to match up the two edges just like a sandwich, right? And go all the way, only halfway through, okay? So go all the way to mid shaft in the heel, let that dry, and then turn the entire thing right side out. Here we go. And then use your finger to sort of make the hot glue a little bit like more pliable on that seam, and we have another chance to fix that. Then you're going to go ahead and slip that disc of foam board inside. Now you're going to just attach it. I'm going to try and zoom in here. So you're going to pick up the center and sort of pleat it, and that way you can line up the two edges on the inside. Okay, So I know it's hard to explain, but once you see it, you just pull the glue out and then cut the glue off, and that creates a nice flat seam. So then we're gonna push down that foam core. We don't have to glue it down because it is weight bearing. It's gonna be built on top of it. I'm gonna add hot glue to my dowel here and hold that until it sets. Now it'll still move around a bit, but once it's dry, you're gonna add hot glue all the way around it, making sure not to get it on your booty. Once that's set, you're going to add a little bit of weight. You can add mini rocks, anything you want, but I have poly beads and it totally works. So we're going to make sure those get distributed all throughout the inside of the shoe. And then we're going to use polyfill to stuff it all the way around that dowel. So you can see I'm pushing all this stuff in here. I'm going to add a little bit more just to make sure my booties are even, but I want to make sure that dowel is somewhat in the middle. See how that one little, it's like kind of off center. So I'm going to compare it to my other one and end up stuffing a little bit more polyfill so I can get the right, see, I can stuff it all the way in the front and then add a little bit more to make sure they're even. Oops, look, now you can see the side of what they look like too. All right, so now that they're mostly even, there you go, mostly, we're going to move on to the legs. I will tell you, I tried a thinner leg base than other ones I've made with this Bubble Gnome pattern. I would highly recommend sticking to the thicker leg base. This is just craft paper. It's a little bit like cardstock. It's like toilet paper roll heavy. So you can use the toilet or paper towel roll for this as well. But you're going to want to create a tube of some kind. So I will tell you, I'll give you a hint. Watch, I'm going to stop this here and I'm going to show you. I could have gone wider with this tube. You need to make it wider. This is not as sturdy. I had to glue the feet together, or I could glue the feet together to make it sturdy, but I didn't want to. I'll just say when you have a wider leg base, it really does help. For the pants, I'm just gonna fray up some of my daughter's old leggings. I'm gonna cut the bottoms, cut any seams off, and make sure I have enough height that I can cover the entire leg height and flip down that top. I'm just going to put right sides together and make a nice little hot glue seam here on the edge and repeat that for the other leg. Once they were dry, I just flipped them right sides out and then I slipped them over the dowel and rolls and then I pulled them over the top of the booty. So I'll show you that here. After I do the second one, just slide them over the top and then pull the bottom out around the booty. I like saying booty. No, just kidding. All right, so I'm using my dowel cutters, aka dull scissors, to cut off those dowels, and then I'm going to tuck under the top of the legs. For the body of the jeans, because this will be visible in the back, I just cut like a trapezoid shape by wrapping the jean material around it, and then I'm going to hem the top edge of the waistband. And you could even make cute little pockets or whatever. I was not making that. All right, so now I'm going to put right sides together and make my little tube for my jeans. I just wanted to show you what my table looks like, and if anybody walked in, it'd be very embarrassing. I have gnome parts everywhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue this stuff down, just pleating it. And if you do pay attention to make one side sort of a seamless edge, and that'll be his booty. All right, so all we're gonna do is stand these legs up, put a generous portion of hot glue, and I do mean generous, all along the top of the paper, the dowel, everything, and then stick and hold that leg on. Do the other leg, and if you're impatient, I'll give you a little trick. That is to go get a wire that's quite pokey and poke it all the way through. And this is great when you're building it and you don't want to wait. Don't want to wait around. All right, so I'm just going to, that tuck over edge there, I'm just going to pull it up and glue it all the way around on both legs. Just to make sure it's all hidden. All right, so you can see his little booty. I'm gonna cut off that wire and fold it down just to make sure it doesn't poke out anything or anyone. Press it down. But you can do that on both sides and you can add a little stability there if you'd like. All right, so now I stuffed the hat. You can see over there, I end up taking quite a bit of that out, and I'm just cutting some patches and fraying the edges of this cotton fabric. I'm gonna glue these patches a couple of different places on the jeans, and then for the hat, remember those holes that we left? I'm going to fold over the outside edge of the felt so it looks finished, and then I'm going to use little patches all over the hat. So some of them I just glued on without a hole, some of them I made a hole. So this one is one of the big side ones, and I'm gonna glue 2 individual pieces of fabric on that I had frayed, and then I'm going to add a lot of fun stuff to the middle. Speaking of the fun stuff, it's all the stuff that falls out when you open one of these hay bales. That's all I'm using. You could use raffia, but I figure this, knowing the fallout of these hay bales, I figure this is what I was going to use. And all we're going to do is add a whole bunch and then glue it together and press in some of these. There you go. And do that up in the other places. So here I cut a hole in the back of the hat, added some straw, and stuck on a patch. I added a little bit of straw, well, kind of a lot of straw in the top, and I also added it to the base of his booties, and inside some of the patches on his legs. For my faux fur, I'm using this really cool ruffy, style looking fur, and I'm going to create a trapezoid after creating a rectangle. I'm only cutting the back of the fur on the fabric backing. I'm going to slip on the hat, make sure I have the beard where I want it, glue it down, split the fur to its fabric backing, add a generous portion of hot glue, and then stick on a big old wood bead. In order to find my placement for everything, including the arms, I have to make sure I like my hat. I ended up stretching and folding up the brim of this hat just to make it look a little bit more rough and rugged. Felt is super easy to stretch. So I'm gonna glue the little hem up on the hat, and then I'm gonna glue that front part of the hat to the nose. For the arms, I'm just using wire and polyfill, but you can again use anything you would like. If you don't want posable arms, that's fine. You don't have to use them. Another way you can get posable arms is using the Dollar Tree foam rollers. They're hair rollers. But I'm just going to secure this wire on both sides of my arm before stuffing and then adding a wood round for the hands. I'm just holding these arms on so I can figure out where to put the patches, and then I'll glue them on in just a second, but I wanted to add a couple of details. So I'm always going to glue the arms to the body and then the hat to the arms, give him a quick lint rolling, and that's it. What do you think of this standing gnome? Will you make him? Let me know what you would name him. As always, get the premium and the free pattern below, and thank you so much for joining me. Please like and subscribe for more crafty fun.